I wanted to ask you a little bit about. Obviously, you're a big advocate for concussions and player safety. You had, I guess say several concussions. Probably the most significant one being in 2000 with Stevens with the hit with Stevens. Can you talk to um, well your current state right now,
Well,
and maybe just your advocacy at the time, maybe being vocal about it, which you're probably one of the first big names to ever come out and actually shine some light on some of these issues, but then still to this day doing some amazing work, really just lobbying for player safety.
there's it's the concussions are going to happen.
Right.
It's how they're dealt with.
Right.
Totally.
There's like the preventative measures. There's a few. I truly believe that neck strength is a big influence on concussion, but it's how do you deal with it after? You're like it's player safety here and there. I love a rough game, but you're going to get hurt. It's how do you deal with it after someone's hurt so that they can come back and be themselves at 100% as quickly as possible without jeopardizing or risking future problems. That should be the goal.
Right.
Yep.
And it wasn't always the goal.
Right.
It didn't play out that way.
Yeah.
For many players. So
Yes.
Yeah, player safety. I mean, it's more just what are we doing? What are we doing to improve and to everyone wants to get back on the ice as quickly as possible. No one likes missing games.
Right.
Right.
Like you've grown up playing hockey. You've been involved in hockey since you've been 5 years old. You love playing. The game is the best. You go to pro. No one wants to miss games. You want to be in there as quickly as possible, and then it takes kind of that communication between the medical staff and a lot of times now, I guess it would be the agent that advocates for the player, and there's got to be a direct and honest line of communication between those two parties that come up with a game plan for the injured player, and go from there.
Yeah, agreed. And I think it's gotten a lot better since you played in your era. I mean, obviously you grew up in the era where it was just like suppress it, tough it out, battle through it. There wasn't a whole lot of education, or at least it wasn't presented to the public as if they had any around the dangers of concussions. And I guess when I said like player safety, it was more around like how do we get the guy back as fast as possible in the safest responsible way, right? Because
Yeah.
everyone does want to get back, but no, we're long past the days of just like rushing guys back because we need to get them in the lineup where a guy can barely even stand up straight.
But in terms of coming up with different ideas, and I think this is kind of more of a broader subject in terms of science and coming up with new ideas. I don't think there's a great deal of communication in the research world at all. I
agree.
It's totally siloed. It's monetarily based. And Canada, you're getting these grants, and once you get your grant, there's no rush. There's like it's just it drives me bonkers. COVID was horrible, but there's one thing that it proved was that you can bring a drug to market.
Right.
Like how fast did that happen?
Yeah, right? Warp speed.
Fast.
Warp speed. And right now, it's, the average, they're saying 17 and a half years here in Canada. Like, Jesus.
Yeah. How convenient.
we're better than this, people. We're better than this. How do we get the best imagery people working with whatever the topic is? How do we get everybody working together so we're maximizing the dollars? It drives me nuts. It's been this way. It's always been this way. I've advocated for change in that regard, and you go nowhere.
Yeah,
you go nowhere. It's too bad.
It really is, and I want to kind of dig into that a little bit because I kind of play in this world too, and the science is some bit skewed. It's political, right? Because it is siloed and it is about generating money in one bucket and like focusing on that while another bucket's generating some money and all this other stuff. So it's I don't want to say corrupted, I'm not really exactly sure if they're really looking for the answer. But I did want to ask you, because the FDA, there's so much that goes into the drug development and actually creating like FDA approved drugs and or therapies. Have you dug into psilocybin mushrooms or any alternative healing, plant and earth medicines to help support concussions?
I have not. I have not. I no, I have. I'm more. If my kid had a concussion, I know I haven't, but I'm open to ideas and suggestions. And um, but going back to you mentioned the term corrupt. I don't think it's. I don't know if it's corrupt. It's just that I think people want to do well, but they're not put in a structure where they're able to maximize what they're capable of doing. I don't think, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't think that I don't think it's a corruption thing. I think it's more that the system, no one's come in and like I'm sitting there and I ordered, I got I lost my charger for my phone. So I'm on Amazon. I need, they sent three little chargers or whatever, or cords for $12. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this and I'm going, how do they get this? This is probably $1.50 to make, but how do they get these three cords to my house 12 hours later?
Yeah.
From like, how does this work? I mean, Amazon has figured out how can we not do that with medical research? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That's where I'm going with it. I'm not saying that it's corrupt. I'm just saying that people aren't. There's no pressure. There's no pressure to perform. Here with many of our government grants.
Right. Yeah. That, and I mean, I guess the system itself is reductionist medicine, right? So it's reducing things to the sum of its parts. So it's like you got one bucket again. Like it's just so siloed. How could it ever be integrated? Because it's almost too much money on its own, right? It's almost too much money on its own. It's too much money on its own. It's like together we could actually maybe accomplish something huge. But then and then when you go back to profits and the money thing we're talking about, it's like this is where it gets complicated.
Well, what's the source of the money? In most cases, it's government.
Right. Yeah, the grants and everything.
Oh, hold back the money.
Yeah, always.
You got to check this box, check that box, check that box. And we're talking high level, and I'm not,
yeah,
I was right into this a few years ago, but it's it's not, there's got to be a better system.
Yeah. Agreed.
Let's just leave it there.
Yeah, let's leave it there. I know 100%. Yeah, we're working towards trying to create one. It takes obviously a lot of time, and intelligence and creativity, I think. But I think things are evolving just slowly. But we can shelf that. Maybe just building off that, like for like young guys, young kids. If your kid had a concussion, like, is there anything that you would do differently? Then you like obviously you probably the answer is yes, but like maybe shine some light on like what you know now versus what you knew then.
What I know now versus what I know then. I still think it's based on heart rate. Coming back and feeling good, challenging your heart rate, starting with walks. And it makes it so much easier with these Apple Watches. You go out for a walk, you come back. Did anything? Are you feeling okay? Go out, push yourself a little bit. It beeps up to 110. Next day, if everything's clear, let's go to 120, 140. So on and so forth, and start building yourself up again.
Yeah.
And if there's problems under stress, then you got to back right off and start again. That's that. And it's been around for years, that idea.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think now we almost lean too much on like external tests and stuff like that, like versus like actually listening to the player and being honest to what you're saying yourself and your symptoms, right?
Oh, then we get into the monetary problems where they're testing for concussion and kids, and the kids' brains are changing every 2 months, right? Like,
right?
Yeah.
Like, what is baseline? You're never going to get a baseline unless you did it the day before.
Yeah, right. Baseline of today. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point.
So it's again, everything gets skewed into how can I make a buck, and a lot of it does. And anyway, it's they're going to happen. It's part of it. It's a matter of just handling them correctly and making sure that you're truly 100% before you venture back.